The book of Genesis opens the story of Abram with a specific directive. In Genesis 12, God instructs him to leave his home, his kindred, and his country, promising to make of him a great nation. The scope of this covenant extends beyond a single bloodline. The divine promise ensures that through Abram, all the families of the earth would be blessed. This promised legacy immediately encounters an existential threat. Genesis 12:10 notes that a grievous famine struck the land of Canaan, halting the group's journey. Searching for a way to survive, Abram discovers that Egypt is in a flourishing condition. He decides to travel down to the Nile to partake of the plenty the Egyptians enjoy. The survival of the covenant now depends on this migration, as environmental disaster forces the group into unknown territory to avoid starvation. Abram views this move with apprehension. He fears the madness of the Egyptians, specifically worrying they will murder him to claim his wife, Sarai, because of her beauty. To protect his life, he employs a survival tactic found in Genesis 12. Abram instructs Sarai to pretend to be his sister, hoping this deception will keep the Egyptians from killing him. The strategy has immediate consequences. Upon their arrival, the Egyptians notice Sarai right away. Pharaoh's princes commend her beauty to the king, and she is taken into the royal house. Abram's attempt to secure his personal safety creates a new crisis. The woman intended to be the mother of a great nation is now part of a foreign king's court. The historian Josephus provides context for Pharaoh's actions. Believing the claim that the two were siblings, Pharaoh sought an honorable political alliance, an affinity through marriage, rather than acting out of lust. To secure this arrangement, Pharaoh showers Abram with wealth. Genesis records that Abram received a large present of money along with sheep, oxen, camels, and servants. To stop the marriage, God intervenes. Genesis 12:17 states that the Lord strikes Pharaoh and his household with great plagues to halt the king's plans. Josephus details the specific nature of these plagues. He describes a severe distemper, a debilitating sickness, combined with a sedition or political rebellion against Pharaoh's government. Seeking answers, Pharaoh consults his priests. They inform him that these sudden calamities are the result of divine wrath for taking another man's wife into his house. Abram's lie resulted in immense riches, yet it required a violent divine intervention to protect the covenant from the fallout of that deception. While in Egypt, Abram gains an audience with the most learned men in the land. He observes that these priests are deeply divided and often hostile toward one another over their differing religious customs. Abram debates them directly, dismantling the arguments they use to justify their practices. By demonstrating that their reasonings are vain and void of truth, he earns a reputation for wisdom and sagacity. This cuneiform script represents the complex data Abram introduced. He taught the Egyptians arithmetic and the science of astronomy, subjects they were entirely unacquainted with. According to Josephus, these sciences originated with the Chaldeans, were introduced to Egypt, and eventually passed on to the Greeks. The starving traveler had become a source of learning for the priests, leaving behind an intellectual legacy that would outlive the famine. Once Pharaoh uncovers the truth, he confronts Abram, demanding to know why he hid Sarai's identity as his wife. Pharaoh commands his men to send Abram away immediately. The group is expelled from Egypt, taking with them all the possessions they had gathered. Abram leaves with far more than he brought. He departs with his original substance from Haran, combined with massive gifts of money, his newly acquired livestock, and a multitude of servants. Abram's departure marks a shift in his social standing. He exited Egypt with the material wealth, the cattle, and the reputation for wisdom needed to establish the nation God had promised him.